The way you speak to yourself each day decides the life you build. Say the right things, and you change everything. Most people don't realize this, but your day doesn't start when the alarm goes off. It starts the moment you speak to yourself. What you tell yourself in those first few seconds can lift you or crush you. And if you're like most people, you've probably been way too hard on yourself for far too long. This isn't just about motivation, it's about mental rewiring. It's about taking 10 simple, clear, and powerful thoughts and making them a daily practice. This is 10 things to tell yourself every day. Not once a week, not when life feels easy, every day, because repetition is what reprograms your mind. If you're tired of feeling stuck, if your thoughts often pull you down instead of pushing you forward, this can shift everything. One thought at a time. Stay with this. It's built for your mind, your energy, and your life. Chapter 1. Start your day knowing you have a new chance. You know, every morning the world gives you something priceless. A new chance, a new page, a new start. Most people wake up and rush into the same old noise, the same phone, the same worries, the same habits. They forget that the moment they open their eyes, they've already been handed another opportunity to make life count. That's the tragedy of routine. We start surviving instead of living. But if you could wake up and say to yourself, "I have a new chance today," everything would begin to change. It's a simple sentence, but it carries power, because when you believe you have a new chance, you no longer see yourself as stuck. You stop carrying yesterday's mistakes into today's potential. You stop defining yourself by what went wrong, and you begin to build on what can go right. That's what separates people who grow from people who just go in circles. Growth begins with a decision, a quiet but powerful choice to start again. Every single morning is a restart button, not just for your schedule, but for your attitude, your habits, your relationships, your goals, your future. You can wake up tired or wake up thankful. You can wake up thinking of what you lost or what you still have. The difference is perspective, and perspective is everything. It's not luck that makes people successful, it's the way they think when the day begins. When I wake up, I remind myself that time is running, and the clock doesn't wait. The day will pass whether I use it or not. That thought alone keeps me grounded. You see, the clock doesn't slow down for your doubts. It doesn't stop because you're afraid. It doesn't care if you're sad or confused. It keeps moving, and so must you. Every new day is not just another 24 hours. It's a window to prove something to yourself, that you can be better than you were yesterday. But most people never use that window. They carry old regrets into the new day. They drag yesterday's failures into today's possibilities. They replay the same stories. I can't, I tried, it's too late. The mind becomes a loop of the past, and the new day loses its value. You can't see a new chance if you're still staring at the old pain. The truth is, yesterday is over. It's gone. It doesn't exist anymore except in your memory, and you can choose what kind of memory it becomes. You can let it teach you, or you can let it trap you. The power of a new day lies in your ability to forgive yourself, to say, "I made mistakes, but I'm not the mistake." That takes maturity. It takes strength. It's not weakness to start again, it's wisdom. People often confuse starting over with failure, but it's the opposite. Every time you start again, you're proving you're still in the game. You're saying to life, "I'm not finished." Starting your day, knowing you have a new chance, also means you stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect timing, the perfect plan. There's no perfect start. There's only now. People waste years waiting for motivation, but motivation doesn't show up first. Action does. And once you start, Once you take that first step, the energy follows. So when you open your eyes in the morning, don't wait to feel ready. Just start moving. Move your body, move your thoughts, move your life forward, even if it's one small step at a time. You may not realize it, but the way you begin your day sets the rhythm for everything that follows. If you start it with complaints, your day will echo that. If you start it with gratitude, your day will expand. If you start it with hesitation, you'll see obstacles. If you start it with belief, you'll find solutions. That's how the mind works. It looks for evidence of whatever you feed it. Feed it doubt, and it'll prove you right. Feed it faith, and it'll open doors. So when you wake up, take a moment before the world starts pulling you in different directions. Take a breath and realize, this day is your shot to rewrite something in your life. Maybe it's your attitude at work. Maybe it's your patience with your family. Maybe it's your commitment to your dream. You don't have to fix your whole life today. You just have to start. Most people underestimate the power of small beginnings. They think change only matters when it's big and loud. But it's the quiet consistency that shapes a life. Saying to yourself, I have a new chance, is not about instant transformation. It's about reminding your mind to stay open. It's about building momentum. It's about refusing to give up on yourself. If you want to see your life change, pay attention to your mornings. That's where your character is built. That's where you decide who you're going to be that day. Discipline is not something you find. It's something you create every morning when you choose not to give up. Some mornings you'll feel tired. Some mornings you'll feel lost. Some mornings you'll wonder if you're ever going to get there. That's normal. That's human. But the moment you tell yourself, I still have a new chance, you take back control. You give yourself permission to move again. Because progress doesn't demand perfection, it only asks for participation. You might not control what happens today. You might face delays, rejections, misunderstandings. That's part of life. But what you do control is how you start the day, how you respond, what you decide to believe. That's your power. No one can take that from you unless you hand it over. And when you start to live this way, something inside you shifts. You stop being a victim of your past and start being a designer of your future. You start taking ownership of your days. You stop saying someday and start saying today. You stop measuring yourself by what went wrong and begin building from what's right. Every morning is an invitation not from the world, but from your own potential. It says, do something with me, use me well, make me count. And every night when you go to bed, you'll know if you did. Because peace doesn't come from having an easy day, it comes from knowing you didn't waste the one you had. So, start your day with awareness. Don't scroll through your phone before you've scrolled through your thoughts. Don't rush into noise before you've grounded your purpose. Say to yourself, this day is mine. Feel it in your chest. Say it until you believe it. You are not running out of time. You are running out of excuses. There's a difference. You're alive. You have energy in your lungs, strength in your body, thoughts in your mind. That means you have a chance. That means life hasn't finished with you yet, and that's not something to waste. If you've been through failure, you're not broken. You're educated. You've learned what doesn't work, which means you're closer to what does. If you've been through heartbreak, you're not lost. You're learning how to love deeper. If you've made mistakes, you're not unworthy. You're human. Every scar is proof you tried. Every new day is proof you can try again. There's a peace that comes when you finally stop punishing yourself for the past and start preparing for the future. You realize you can't change what's behind you, but you can still change what's ahead. That peace doesn't mean you forget your past. It means you've stopped living inside it. And here's something powerful: people around you feel your energy. They notice when you start showing up differently. When you stop complaining and start taking action. When you stop talking about what went wrong and start focusing on what's next. You become a light in the room, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. Because you've learned that every day is a gift, not a guarantee. You can't wait for life to slow down before you start living it. The best time to begin again is always now. Even if you're scared, even if you're tired, even if you've failed 100 times. The only mistake left would be to stop trying. So when you wake up tomorrow morning, before the world asks anything of you, remind yourself, you have a new chance. Not a perfect one, but a real one. A chance to be honest. A chance to grow. A chance to be kind. A chance to focus. A chance to move forward. And when you start treating every morning as that a new chance, you stop wasting your days waiting for happiness, and you start creating it. You stop chasing meaning and start building it. You stop counting how many days you've lost, and you start celebrating how many you've gained. You are not defined by the day you failed. You are defined by the day you decided to try again. Every sunrise is a reminder that you are still in the game. The question is, what will you do with it? So, start your day knowing you have a new chance. Breathe it in. Own it. Live it. Because when you do, you stop being a passenger in your life and become the driver of it. And that's when everything begins to change. Chapter 2. Remind yourself you are already enough to begin. There's something powerful that happens when you stop waiting to feel worthy and start living as if you already are. The idea that you need to prove yourself before beginning, that you need to earn permission to take the first step, is what keeps so many people stuck. You don't have to become perfect before you start. You don't need more validation, more approval, or more preparation to take action toward your goals. You only need the belief that who you are right now is enough to begin. You see, the world conditions us to think we must reach some invisible standard before we deserve to try. We tell ourselves we'll start when we lose weight, when we feel confident, when we have more money, when people understand us, and while we're waiting for that right time, life keeps moving. Years pass, opportunities fade, and the moment that could have changed everything slips quietly away. The truth is, there is no right time, there is only now. And you, as you are today, are already enough to take that first step. Most people underestimate how capable they already are. They focus on what they lack instead of what they have. They see their imperfections as proof they aren't ready, when in reality those imperfections are what make them real, relatable, and strong. You don't grow into worthiness. You recognize it, and once you do, you start seeing yourself differently. You walk into rooms with more calm. You face problems with more confidence. You stop begging life to approve of you because you already have. When I say remind yourself that you are enough to begin, I mean you need to look in the mirror and stop disqualifying yourself. You've already survived things that once felt impossible. You've already learned lessons that shaped who you are. You've already built resilience that most people never see. That means you already have everything you need to begin. You're not missing anything, you're just doubting what you have. Every journey starts with a beginning that feels uncertain. No one begins confident. Confidence is not a requirement, it's a result. It's built through action, not before it. The people you admire, the ones who seem fearless, focused, unstoppable, they didn't start that way. They began unsure, unprepared, and scared, just like you. The difference is they started anyway. They didn't wait for the perfect version of themselves to show up. They used the version they had. And that's the truth about growth. It's not about waiting until you're ready. It's about trusting that you can figure it out along the way. Readiness is not a feeling, it's a decision. You decide that who you are today is capable of taking the first step. You decide that your self-worth doesn't depend on your achievements. You decide that you're enough right now to begin, even if you don't have it all together. The belief that you're not enough comes from years of comparison. You look around and see other people doing more, having more, looking more put together. You start to believe that because you're behind, you're not worthy. But that's a dangerous illusion. Everyone's timeline is different. Everyone's story is unique. You can't measure your journey using someone else's ruler. You don't need to be them to be valuable. You only need to be you, fully and unapologetically. It takes courage to stop comparing and start appreciating your own process. You have strengths that others don't. You have experiences that shaped your understanding in ways no one else has lived. And those things, when combined, make you powerful. You don't have to copy anyone's version of success. You just need to begin building yours with what you already have. Sometimes we confuse humility with self-doubt. We think being humble means downplaying ourselves, rejecting compliments, or hiding our abilities. But that's not humility, that's insecurity in disguise. Real humility is knowing your worth without needing to shout it. It's walking with quiet confidence, knowing that you bring value wherever you go. You don't need to prove that value, you need to use it. When you believe you are enough, something changes inside you. You stop chasing approval. You stop apologizing for your dreams. You stop seeking validation from people who don't even understand your vision. You start to feel a calm sense of direction, even when life feels uncertain, because deep down, you know that no matter what happens, you can handle it. That's the kind of belief that carries you through the hard days, the days when doubt screams louder than hope, the days when progress feels invisible, the days when you question if you're capable of more. In those moments, you must remind yourself, I don't need to have it all figured out. I just need to keep going. I am enough to begin again. You see, self-belief is not arrogance, it's self-respect. It's the refusal to treat yourself as unworthy. It's recognizing that growth is possible because you are already valuable. You don't need anyone's permission to become better. You just need your own commitment to start. The mind is tricky. It remembers every failure, every rejection, every insult, and uses those memories to build fear. It tells you you're not ready because it's trying to protect you from pain. But that same mind can be trained to work for you, not against you. It begins with the thoughts you repeat every day. The moment you start telling yourself, I am enough to begin, your mind starts looking for evidence of that truth. It starts finding proof in your progress, in your effort, in your persistence. Think about how different your day feels when you start with that belief. You wake up, and instead of feeling behind, you feel capable. Instead of thinking about what you lack, you think about what you can do. You approach people with confidence instead of hesitation. You try things you used to avoid. You speak your ideas instead of holding them back. That one belief, I am enough to begin, becomes the engine that drives you forward. Many people never get to that point because they spend too long analyzing themselves. They keep asking, am I ready? Am I good enough? What if I fail? But the truth is, no amount of thinking will answer those questions. Only doing will. Action is what builds belief. When you take the first step, even if it's small, you prove to yourself that you can move. And once you move, your confidence grows. Starting before you feel ready is one of the most powerful habits you can build. It teaches your brain that progress doesn't come from perfection, it comes from participation. The first attempt may not be great. That's okay. You don't need great, you need genuine. The more you show up, the more you improve. You can't get good at something you never begin. There's something freeing about knowing you're enough. You stop performing for others. You stop chasing acceptance. You start living in alignment with what matters to you. That's when you begin making real progress, when your choices come from self-worth, not self-doubt. It's easy to forget your worth when life gets hard, when things fall apart, when people disappoint you, when plans fail. But that's exactly when you need to remember it most. Your worth is not based on your success. It's based on your existence. You are valuable because you exist. You are capable because you're willing. You are deserving because you are human. You might be thinking, but I've made too many mistakes. Everyone has. Mistakes don't make you unworthy. They make you wiser. Every time you failed, you learned something that shaped your understanding. Every time you were rejected, you built strength you didn't have before. You are standing on a foundation of experience that makes you ready for more than you think. When you live with the belief that you're enough, you start giving yourself permission to try again. You allow yourself to learn without judgment. You stop waiting to be perfect before you show up. You stop hiding from your dreams because you no longer believe they belong to someone better. They belong to you, and you belong in the arena of effort, not the corner of hesitation. And here's the truth about life. No one else can give you the confidence you're waiting for. No one else can hand you permission to start. It has to come from within. You have to be the one to say, "This is my time. This is my chance. I'm going to begin." And when you do that, you take back control of your life. There's beauty in beginning imperfectly. It's honest. It's real. It's what makes the process meaningful. Every great story starts with a moment when someone decided to begin, even while doubting themselves. Every success you've ever admired started as uncertainty. The courage to begin while feeling unready is what separates dreamers from doers. When you begin with the belief that you're enough, you stop fearing other people's opinions. You stop overthinking. You stop waiting for external approval. You start building confidence from your own actions. You show up. You fail. You learn. You adjust. You grow. That's the process. That's life. You owe it to yourself to see what's possible when you stop holding back. There's a version of you waiting to be discovered, and the only way to meet that version is by beginning. You don't need to fix everything before you start. You just need to start where you are, with what you have, and with who you are today. Remind yourself daily, you are already enough to begin. You have what it takes to grow, to improve, to make something meaningful. You don't have to earn that right. You were born with it. The moment you accept that truth, you stop living from fear and start living from purpose. There will always be room to grow, but growth doesn't come from shame, it comes from self-acceptance. The most powerful thing you can do for your future is to stop disqualifying your present. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are right where you need to be to start something meaningful. So today, stand up and remind yourself, you are already enough to begin. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when everything feels right today. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the belief that you're not ready. The truth is, you are. You always have been. Now it's time to prove it to yourself by taking that first step.
Chapter 3. Speak kindly because your words shape your mood. The words you speak to yourself decide how you feel, how you act, and what kind of day you live. Most people never realize the power sitting inside their own voice. They speak harshly to themselves, criticize every small mistake, and then wonder why they feel drained before the day even begins. Your mind listens to your words like commands. Every statement becomes instruction. Every phrase becomes direction. When you say you're not good enough, your body feels it. When you say you can't do it, your motivation fades. But when you speak with kindness, your mood begins to shift, your energy rises, and your confidence quietly rebuilds. The way you talk to yourself is more important than the way anyone else talks to you. You spend every moment of your life inside your own thoughts. That means your internal voice becomes your constant companion, shaping your attitude and emotional state. Many people try to control the outside world, jobs, relationships, circumstances, but neglect the most powerful influence of all, their own self-talk. You can't expect peace if your mind is full of insults toward yourself. You can't feel strong if your words keep tearing you down. Kindness in speech is not weakness, it's wisdom. It's understanding that tone and language can either fuel you or drain you. When you treat yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a friend, your entire emotional world changes. You begin to feel lighter. You recover faster from failure. You stop replaying every small flaw in your mind because you start realizing you deserve respect from yourself. It's strange how people easily encourage others, but struggle to encourage themselves. You tell your friends, "You'll be fine, you're doing great." But when you make a mistake, you say, "I'm so stupid," or "I always ruin everything." That's not harmless talk. Every harsh word reinforces a belief. Over time, those beliefs form your identity. You start behaving according to the story your words create. That's why it's so important to speak kindly. Your brain is always listening. Your words set the emotional temperature of your life. Speak with warmth, and you'll feel calmer. Speak with cruelty, and you'll feel cold inside. The things you tell yourself become habits. If you wake up and immediately say, "This is going to be a terrible day," you'll subconsciously look for proof that you're right. But if you say, "I'll handle whatever comes my way today," your mind prepares to cooperate with strength. It's not magic, it's psychology. The brain seeks consistency. It aligns your emotions with your words to make your reality match your thoughts. This is why some people can live in chaos and still feel balanced. They've learned to control their language. They use their words to create inner order, even when the world outside is unpredictable. They understand that you don't wait for good feelings to speak kindly. You speak kindly to create good feelings. Mood doesn't create speech. Speech creates mood. When you speak to yourself harshly, you create unnecessary emotional wounds. The body feels stress. The mind tightens. The heart closes. Your words trigger emotions that shape your posture, breathing, and even your energy. The simple phrase, "I can't," can drain you of power faster than physical exhaustion. On the other hand, gentle and honest language can heal. Telling yourself, "I'm learning," instead of "I failed," changes how you process challenge. It opens space for patience and growth instead of shame. The goal isn't to lie to yourself or repeat empty affirmations. It's about choosing language that supports your effort instead of destroying it. When you talk to yourself, speak like someone who wants to see you succeed. Be real but encouraging. Say, "This is hard, but I can handle it." Say, "I made a mistake, but I can try again." That kind of language keeps you in motion instead of paralyzing you with guilt. Think about how different your days could feel if you monitored your self-talk. The way you monitor your diet. You wouldn't feed your body poison. Why feed your mind toxic words? The language you use each day is mental nutrition. Positive words feed strength. Negative words feed fear. And just like the body responds to food, your emotions respond to words. Speak junk, and you'll feel heavy. Speak truth with kindness, and you'll feel clear. When you start practicing kind self-talk, you might notice resistance. It may feel strange or even false at first. That's because your mind has been trained to expect criticism. Years of self-judgment don't disappear overnight, but consistency rewires your thought patterns. Each time you choose a kind phrase over a cruel one, you're teaching your brain a new emotional language. With time, that new language becomes natural, and your mood begins to stabilize. There's a difference between holding yourself accountable and attacking yourself. Accountability says, "I can do better next time." Self-attack says, "I'm worthless." One builds progress, the other destroys it. The people who achieve lasting growth are not the ones who punish themselves for every mistake. They're the ones who respond with compassion and keep going. They understand that growth thrives in an environment of patience. When you use kind words, you build trust with yourself. You start to believe that you'll handle your emotions with care. That inner trust gives you courage to face bigger challenges. You no longer fear failure because you know you won't be cruel to yourself when it happens. That's emotional security. The kind that doesn't depend on anyone else's approval. Kind speech also changes how you relate to others. When you speak gently to yourself, you naturally speak more gently to people around you. You become more understanding, less reactive. Your relationships improve because your emotional world becomes calmer. You stop projecting your frustration onto others because you're no longer fighting with yourself inside. Notice how children react to tone. When spoken to kindly, they open up. When spoken to harshly, they close off. Adults are the same. Inside each person is a mind that responds to tone, not just words. When you speak kindly to yourself, you create a safe inner environment where ideas can grow and healing can happen. When your internal language is full of blame and criticism, your motivation hides. It's scared to come out. The mind is not built to thrive under constant verbal attack. If your daily thoughts are full of self-insults, no amount of success will make you happy. You'll reach goals, but still feel empty, because your inner dialogue will find something wrong again. That's why you must fix the way you talk to yourself before chasing bigger achievements. Peace doesn't come from external wins. It comes from internal understanding. Kindness in language doesn't mean you ignore truth. It means you deliver truth in a way that encourages growth. Instead of saying, "I'm lazy," you can say, "I need to work on consistency." Instead of saying, "I always mess up," you can say, "I made a mistake, and I'll learn from it." The information is the same, but the tone changes everything. The first approach kills motivation. The second strengthens it. You shape your emotional world every time you open your mouth. Even casual phrases like "I'm so tired," "I'm so busy," or "I can't deal with this" tell your body to shut down. You begin to act according to the language you use. But when you say, "I'll take it one step at a time," your body releases tension. You feel calmer. You breathe easier. It's a small shift that leads to big emotional change. Kind words also increase your resilience. When life gets tough, negative self-talk makes challenges heavier than they already are. You start battling both the problem and your own criticism. But kind language removes that second battle. It frees energy to actually solve the problem. Encouraging words become mental fuel, helping you think clearer and move forward. Pay attention to how you speak during stressful moments. Do you attack yourself or support yourself? Do you use words that make you panic or words that help you focus? The habit of kind speech doesn't just create peace. It creates strength, because strength isn't the absence of fear. It's the ability to stay calm and grounded while facing it. When you practice speaking kindly, you'll notice your emotional recovery improve. You'll bounce back faster from setbacks. You'll notice that disappointment hurts less. You'll even find you're smiling more often. Not because everything's perfect, but because you've learned how to speak peace into your own mind. The world is already full of voices ready to criticize you. Don't add your own to the list. Be the voice that lifts you. The one that says, "I can try again. I'm doing my best. I'm improving." Those words are not weakness. They're strength disguised as gentleness. It takes maturity to be kind to yourself in a world that glorifies harshness. Your self-talk creates emotional patterns that ripple into everything you do. Speak in a way that makes you feel capable, not defeated. When you speak kindly, you start treating challenges as lessons instead of punishment. You stop labeling yourself as a failure and start seeing yourself as a learner. You stop being your own enemy and start being your greatest ally. Imagine going through your day with an inner voice that encourages you instead of criticizing you. You'd stand taller. You'd make decisions faster. You'd stop avoiding opportunities because fear of judgment would fade. That's the power of kind speech. It builds emotional safety, and when you feel safe inside, you start living boldly outside. Your words are seeds. Speak despair, and you grow doubt. Speak hope, and you grow confidence. Speak harshness, and you grow anxiety. Speak compassion, and you grow peace. Every sentence plants something in your heart. Choose carefully what you plant, because what you plant, you'll eventually feel. So each morning, before you face the world, listen to your inner voice. If it's unkind, change the tone. If it's impatient, slow it down. If it's critical, make it constructive. You have the power to rewrite the script. The same mouth that can tear you down can also build you up. And when you start doing that, your life begins to change in ways that no external success ever could. Speak kindly, because your words shape your mood. They shape how you show up, how you connect, how you love, and how you heal. When you choose kind speech, you take control of the atmosphere inside you. You become your own encouragement instead of your own obstacle. And that's when you realize that real strength has never been about being tough on yourself. It's about being understanding enough to help yourself rise again.
Chapter 4. Face your fears and do the hard thing anyway. Fear has a way of disguising itself as logic. It whispers, wait until you're ready, or this isn't the right time, or you might fail again. It sounds reasonable, but underneath that reasoning is hesitation, and behind hesitation lives regret. Every person who ever built something meaningful faced fear and did it anyway. That's not a slogan, it's a fact of human progress. The people who create change are not fearless. They are simply the ones who stopped waiting for fear to disappear before they moved forward. Fear is part of being alive. It keeps you cautious, aware and alert. But when it becomes your decision maker, it limits your entire life. You start shaping your choices around comfort instead of purpose. You start saying no to new experiences, not because you don't want them, but because you're afraid of what could go wrong. You stop growing. You stop challenging yourself. And slowly, without noticing, you begin to shrink into a smaller version of who you were meant to be. Doing the hard thing doesn't mean you have to feel brave. It means you act even when your stomach twists and your hands shake. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's movement in spite of it. Every difficult decision, every uncomfortable step, every leap into the unknown, it's fear standing in front of you, testing your will to grow. You don't overcome fear by avoiding it. You overcome it by walking straight through it, one deliberate step at a time. People often think fear will disappear once they gain more confidence. But confidence doesn't come first, action does. You build confidence by doing the things that scare you and realizing you can survive them. It's the experience that teaches your mind, I can handle this. Without that experience, confidence remains a fantasy. The hard truth is, if you're waiting to feel ready, you'll wait your entire life. Readiness doesn't come from waiting, it comes from beginning. Every goal that truly matters will test your nerve, whether it's starting a new business, speaking up in a meeting, having a difficult conversation, or changing your life's direction. It all brings uncertainty. The easy route will always call your name. Comfort feels safe because it's familiar. But comfort is also where dreams quietly die. Growth doesn't live there. Growth hides behind the things that scare you most. Think about the moments in your past when you felt real progress, when you stretched yourself beyond what you thought possible. Those moments always carried fear. Maybe you were nervous, embarrassed, or unsure, but you did it anyway. And after it was over, you felt stronger, prouder, more alive. That's the reward of doing the hard thing. You meet a version of yourself that only appears when you push past the wall of fear.
The mind often exaggerates fear. It builds imaginary disasters before you even take the first step. It creates stories of rejection, humiliation, failure. But those stories are not reality. They're protection mechanisms. Your brain's main job is to keep you safe, not fulfilled. Safety and fulfillment don't always align. Sometimes you must risk discomfort to experience meaning. When you avoid fear, you give it power. When you face it, you shrink it. Avoidance keeps it alive. Action weakens it. Every time you confront something uncomfortable, you send your brain a message, "I'm capable," and that message rewires your mental patterns. The next time fear shows up, it won't seem as big because your mind remembers you've handled hard things before. You don't have to start with huge acts of courage. Start small. Face one fear each day. Say what you really think in a conversation. Apply for the opportunity you've been hesitating about. Try something you've been too self-conscious to do. Every small act builds momentum. Courage grows like a muscle. It strengthens only when used. Fear will always offer excuse. It will say you need more preparation, more money, more approval, more time. But behind every excuse lies the same feeling. Doubt. You doubt your ability to handle the outcome. That's why the real antidote to fear is not motivation, it's self-trust. When you trust that you can handle whatever happens next, fear loses its grip. The outcome stops mattering as much because you know you'll adapt. Life has a way of rewarding those who take risks. Opportunities rarely come to those who wait for perfect conditions. They come to those who take messy, uncertain action. That's the paradox. The very thing you're afraid to do is often the thing that will set you free. Fear points directly to the areas of potential growth. If something scares you, it usually means it matters. Some fears come from old experiences, times when you were hurt, embarrassed, or rejected. The mind stores those memories as warnings, and it tries to protect you by repeating them. But those warnings are based on the past, not the present. You are not the same person who went through those moments. You're stronger now, wiser, more equipped. Don't let an old wound control your new chapter. It's okay to feel fear. It's not a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you care about the outcome. The key is not to wait until the fear disappears, but to move while it's still there. The first few steps may feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is temporary. Regret is permanent. Fear fades once you prove to yourself that you can act through. When you avoid difficult things, you create a life built on limitations. You start living smaller to protect yourself from discomfort. But the cost of that safety is your potential. You can't discover what you're capable of if you never test your limit. Doing the hard thing teaches you that your limits are not fixed. They expand when you push against them. There's a quiet strength that grows in people who face fear regularly. They stop overanalyzing everything. They stop seeking constant reassurance. They stop pretending that courage feels comfortable. They know courage is raw, sometimes messy, but always worth it. That kind of person doesn't live free of fear. They live above it. You'll never fully control fear, but you can control your focus. Focus on the action, not the emotion. Focus on what you can do next, not what might go wrong. Fear grows when you give it attention. It shrinks when you give it action. When you shift your focus from "what if I fail" to "what can I learn," your entire experience changes. Failure becomes feedback instead of proof of inadequacy. Facing your fears also builds emotional resilience. Once you realize you can survive uncomfortable emotions, embarrassment, anxiety, uncertainty, you stop letting them control you. You understand that feelings are temporary visitors, not permanent residents. They come, they stay for a while, and then they go. You can feel fear without becoming it. People often think bravery means big gestures, facing danger, confronting chaos, standing alone. But bravery also exists in small moments, asking for help, being honest about what you want, setting boundaries, admitting you're scared but showing up anyway. Courage doesn't always roar, sometimes it whispers, do it anyway. You may not win every time you face fear, but you'll always grow. Even when things don't work out, you gain self-respect. You stop seeing yourself as someone who avoids and start seeing yourself as someone who tries. That shift changes how you carry yourself. You walk with a little more confidence, not because everything's easy, but because you know you've survived worse. Fear thrives in imagination. It's rarely as bad as you expect. The presentation you dread, the conversation you avoid, the change you fear, once you face them, you realize they're just moments, not monsters. The hardest part is the anticipation. Once you begin, momentum carries. Your nervousness turns into focus, your fear turns into flow, and suddenly you're doing the very thing you thought you couldn't. Courage is contagious. When you do the hard thing, others notice. You inspire people without even realizing. They see your example and begin to challenge their own fears. You become a source of quiet strength, not by preaching courage, but by living it. That's how change spreads. One person's act of bravery gives others permission to try. Fear is not the enemy. Avoidance. Fear reminds you where growth lives. It signals that something valuable lies ahead. If you never feel fear, you're not stretching enough. Comfort feels good in the moment, but it steals your future. Growth feels uncomfortable in the moment, but it builds your future. You get to choose which one to live in. You don't need to eliminate fear to succeed. You just need to reduce its control. You can feel fear and still move forward. You can hear its voice without obeying it. You can acknowledge it and still decide, I'm doing this. That decision, the decision to act despite emotion, is what separates progress from paralysis. Remember, courage doesn't guarantee success, but fear guarantees stagnation. Life doesn't reward those who avoid it, rewards those who try. Even if you fail, you'll gain experience, perspective, and resilience. Those are things you can't buy or fake. They come only from doing what's hard. When you train yourself to face fear regularly, you begin to crave challenge instead of avoiding it. You start associating fear with opportunity, not danger. You look at uncomfortable situations and think, this is where I grow. That mindset turns obstacles into training grounds. Suddenly fear becomes a tool for development instead of a reason to stop. Every time you face something hard, you break a layer of limitation inside yourself. The version of you that emerges after each challenge is wiser and more confident. You can't access that version without going through discomfort. It's like walking through fire. It burns for a moment, but it forges something strong. You are capable of more than your fear wants you to believe. The evidence is in every hard thing you've already done. You've survived heartbreak, disappointment, loss, failure. You've picked yourself up after moments that felt impossible. That's proof that you can handle hard things. Fear tries to erase that proof, but your life already shows the truth. The next time fear appears, don't wait for it to vanish. Acknowledge it, feel it, and then move. If it's one small step, take it. Each step weakens fear's hold. Each step strengthens your spirit. And when you look back later, you'll realize that fear was never the real problem. It was the hesitation it created. Face your fears and do the hard thing anyway. Because fear doesn't leave you alone when you hide. It follows you everywhere. But when you confront it, it loses its voice. You become the one who decides, not your doubt. You don't need to feel ready. You don't need to feel brave. You just need to move. And once you do, fear stops being the wall in front of you and becomes the ground you've already walked over.
Chapter 5. Focus on what makes you feel genuinely alive. There's a quiet emptiness that settles in when you go through life only doing what's expected, but never what makes you feel alive. Many people wake up each day running on autopilot. They move from task to task, crossing off lists, fulfilling obligations, answering messages,
But deep inside, there's a voice asking, is this all there is? That question doesn't come from laziness or ingratitude. It comes from a soul that's tired of surviving and ready to start living. Life wasn't designed to be endured. It was meant to be experienced. You were not born to only exist. You were born to feel alive. Feeling alive doesn't mean constant excitement or endless pleasure. It's not about escaping responsibility or chasing distraction. It's about connecting with what gives you meaning, what lights up your heart, what reminds you that you are part of something bigger than the routine you live in. It's about doing the things that awaken your curiosity, challenge your strength, and bring you back to yourself when the world feels heavy. When you start focusing on what makes you feel alive, you begin to see how much of your life has been spent on autopilot. You notice how often you say yes to things that drain you and no to things that inspire you. You realize that you've been chasing busyness, not purpose. And it's not because you don't care, it's because life teaches you to value productivity over fulfillment. We grow up believing that success means checking boxes, not feeling joy. But real success is waking up with energy and going to bed with peace. There's something deeply human about wanting to feel alive. It's the reason we seek connection, adventure, growth, and creation. You can have all the comforts in the world and still feel numb if nothing you do stirs your soul. You can have status, money, recognition, but if your days feel like repetition without meaning, that's not living, it's existing with a pulse. Feeling alive is about reconnecting with the spark that gets buried under routines, responsibilities, and noise. The first step to focusing on what makes you feel alive is awareness. You have to stop long enough to notice what brings you energy and what takes it away. Pay attention to moments when time seems to disappear because you're fully engaged. Notice when your mind feels clear and your heart feels full. It could be creating something, helping someone, learning, teaching, moving your body, or simply sitting in silence. Those moments are clues. They're not random. They point toward what truly matters to you. Too many people ignore those clues because they've convinced themselves they don't have time for joy. They tell themselves, I'll do it later when things slow down, but later never comes. There will always be more work, more bills, more obligations. Life doesn't pause for you to find yourself. You have to carve that time out deliberately. You have to protect the things that make you feel alive the same way you protect your responsibilities, because they are a responsibility too to your well-being and your growth. When you start honoring what brings you joy, you notice your energy shift. You stop feeling like you're dragging yourself through the day. Your mind becomes clearer, your patience grows, and your motivation starts to rebuild naturally. It's not about quitting everything that's hard. It's about balancing what drains you with what refills you. You can handle stress when your life also includes meaning. You can endure pressure when you know what you're working for. What makes you feel alive might not look impressive to anyone else, and that's okay. It's personal. It's unique. For one person, it's writing late into the night. For another, it's hiking in silence, playing music, cooking, mentoring, or building something from scratch. The world tries to define what should make you happy, but only you can decide what gives you life. Comparison kills authenticity. You don't need to justify your joy to anyone. There's a part of you that remembers who you were before fear and expectations started controlling your choices. That part still lives in you. It's the part that lights up when you talk about your passions, the part that smiles when you lose yourself in something you love. When you reconnect with that version of yourself, you feel real again. You stop pretending to be what the world demands and start being who you are. Life will always have responsibilities, but there's a difference between living responsibly and living robotically. Responsibility means taking care of what matters. Robotic living means losing your sense of meaning while doing it. You can be a good parent, employee, friend, or partner, and still have space to nurture your spirit. In fact, the more you feed your soul, the better you become for everyone around you. You show up with more presence, more patience, and more authenticity. It takes courage to focus on what makes you feel alive, because it often means letting go of what only looks right. It may mean disappointing others, changing direction, or saying no to things you once said yes to. People might not understand it, but they don't have to. You're not living their life, you're living yours. The people who truly care about you will respect your need to grow, and the ones who don't were never meant to define your path. When you focus on what makes you feel alive, you start noticing beauty again. You begin to see the small details you used to rush past. The way light falls through a window, the sound of laughter, the feeling of gratitude for simple moments. Aliveness makes you more present. It slows you down in a way that doesn't waste time but deepens it. Life starts feeling richer, not because the circumstances changed but because you did. It's easy to forget that feeling alive doesn't require major life changes. You don't have to move to a new city or quit your job to reconnect with meaning. Sometimes it's about how you approach your current life. Bring more intention to ordinary moments. Listen deeply when someone speaks. Take a walk without your phone. Do something creative for no reason. Allow yourself to feel wonder again. When you do that, you'll find that aliveness is not something you chase, it's something you allow. The problem isn't that people don't want to feel alive, it's that they're afraid of what it requires. Feeling alive means being honest about what's missing. It means facing the truth about what's not working, and being brave enough to make changes. That's uncomfortable, so most people settle for distraction instead of transformation. They fill their days with noise to avoid the quiet voice inside saying, "This isn't it." But that voice doesn't go away. It gets louder with time. There's nothing selfish about wanting to feel alive. It's not indulgence, it's alignment. When you live connected to what excites and fulfills you, you contribute more to the world. You create, you give, you inspire. The most impactful people are those who operate from a place of passion, not obligation. They've found something that lights them up, and that energy becomes contagious. You can't pour from emptiness, but when you're alive inside, you overflow naturally. Sometimes life will numb you. Stress, loss, failure, disappointment, they all drain your spirit. During those seasons, it's not about pretending to be happy, it's about finding small sparks to remind you that life still holds meaning. Go back to the things that ground you. Music, nature, movement, faith, creativity, connection. Don't underestimate the power of small joys. They might not solve everything, but they can keep you going until you rebuild your strength. When you focus on what makes you feel alive, you also learn to let go of what doesn't. You stop holding on to relationships, jobs, or habits that suffocate you. You start saying no more often. You stop forcing yourself into versions of success that leave you empty. You stop apologizing for wanting peace over approval. That's not weakness, that's wisdom. You're finally choosing to live your truth instead of performing for acceptance. Feeling alive is not about chasing constant highs, it's about choosing engagement over avoid. It's about showing up to your own life instead of sitting on the sidelines of it. It's the difference between watching the sunrise on a screen and standing outside feeling its warmth on your skin. You can't experience life secondhand, you have to participate in it. When you begin to prioritize what gives you life, you'll notice resistance from within. Your mind will whisper, "This is impractical," or "You don't have time." But that resistance is just habit. You've trained yourself to ignore joy. Start retraining it. Give yourself permission to do one thing each day that reconnects you to yourself, no matter how small. The repetition of small aliveness builds into a lifestyle that feels meaningful again. Don't confuse distraction with fulfillment. Scrolling through noise, binge-watching shows, or escaping through busyness might temporarily numb the emptiness, but they won't fill it. True aliveness requires participation. It requires effort, curiosity, and attention. It's about being fully present in whatever you do, not half there while your mind drifts somewhere else. There's a simple way to test if something makes you feel alive. Notice your energy afterward. Do you feel lighter or heavier? Open or drained? At peace or restless? Your body always tells the truth. Start listening to it. If something repeatedly leaves you empty, it's not for you. If something fills you with clarity and quiet joy, protect it. Build your days around it. The more you follow what makes you feel alive, the more aligned your life becomes. Decisions become clearer because they're guided by energy, not pressure. You stop chasing what looks good and start choosing what feels right. You stop worrying about how others perceive your choices and start caring about how those choices make you feel. That's when you know you're living authentically. Every day, life gives you hundreds of chances to feel alive. A conversation, a moment of laughter, a small victory, a connection, a new idea. These are all reminders that life is happening now. The goal isn't to find excitement in every moment, it's to find meaning in enough of them, that your days start to feel full again. So take a step back and ask yourself, what makes me feel alive? Not what impresses others, not what seems successful, not what's expected. What truly makes you come alive? Then give that part of your life more space. Nurture it. Build around it. Because life expands in the direction of your attention. Focus on what drains you, and you'll feel exhausted. Focus on what gives you life, and you'll feel free. You have one life, one chance to turn your time into something that feels real. Don't waste it being half awake. Don't let fear, pressure, or expectation steal the spark from you. Protect it. Feed it. Live it. The world doesn't need more people running on empty. It needs people who are fully alive. And that starts with you choosing, every single day, to focus on what makes you feel that way.
Chapter 6. Let yourself start over as many times as needed. Starting over is not a sign of failure. It's a sign that you're still willing to grow, still willing to try, still willing to believe that life can get better. The idea that you only get one chance, one path, or one version of success is one of the greatest lies we've been taught. Life is not a straight road, it's a series of restarts, adjustments and new beginnings. You can fall, lose your way, or outgrow the person you once were and still have the right to begin again. That's not weakness, that's courage in its purest form. There will be seasons when everything you built starts to crumble. The job you worked for years might end. The relationship you thought would last may break apart. The plan you had for your future may stop making sense. In those moments, it's easy to feel lost, like you've wasted time or failed at something essential. But starting over doesn't mean you've lost everything. It means you've gained the wisdom to begin differently. You're not going back to zero, you're returning to life with experience, with deeper understanding, with lessons that you could never have learned any other way. The ability to start over is one of the most powerful human strengths. It means you're flexible, adaptive, and alive. It means you refuse to let disappointment define the rest of your story. Too many people stay stuck because they're afraid to begin again. They cling to what no longer fits out of fear of appearing inconsistent or weak. But holding on to something that's already broken doesn't make you strong, it keeps you stagnant. Starting over, however many times it takes, is how you rebuild your life into something truer. You don't need permission to start over. You don't need to explain yourself to anyone. The only approval you need is your own. People might not understand your choice to walk away from something familiar. They might call it giving up, but deep down you'll know that you're not quitting.
You're choosing peace over pretending. You're choosing growth over comfort. You're choosing to trust that there's more for you than what you've settled for. There's a quiet beauty in new beginnings. The first breath after a breakdown. The moment you wake up and decide that yesterday doesn't get to control you anymore. The decision to move forward even when it hurts. That's where strength lives. In the quiet choice to rebuild. And sometimes rebuilding doesn't look glamorous. It's messy, it's slow, it's uncertain. But it's real, and real growth always starts in the rubble of what you thought you couldn't live without. When you start over, you give yourself permission to evolve. You stop forcing yourself to be the person you used to be. You stop chasing the same definitions of success that no longer inspire you. You start listening to your heart again, not your fear. You start making decisions based on who you're becoming, not who you were. There's freedom in that. There's power in that. It's easy to look at your past and feel regret for the time you lost. But regret only holds value if it teaches you something. Every wrong turn, every mistake, every ending brought you closer to clarity. Without those experiences, you wouldn't know what you truly need. Starting over gives you the chance to apply those lessons, to live smarter, love deeper, and walk with more awareness. You can't rewrite the past, but you can rewrite your future. Sometimes the hardest part of starting over is forgiving yourself. You might replay every decision, wondering why you didn't see it sooner, why you stayed too long, why you believed what you did. But forgiveness is the only way forward. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. Beating yourself up doesn't change the past. It only delays your healing. Starting over begins with compassion. You have to stop punishing yourself for how long it took to wake up. The point is, you did. The truth is, most of the people who look confident and composed have started over many times. They've reinvented themselves, changed directions, let go of things they once thought they couldn't live without. They've fallen and rebuilt quietly, away from the spotlight. Starting over doesn't get easier, but it does get clearer. You start recognizing the signs that something needs to change sooner. You stop clinging to what drains you. You learn to walk away faster, not out of impatience, but out of self-respect. We often confuse consistency with loyalty. We think staying means we're strong. But staying in a place that suffocates your spirit isn't loyalty. It's fear disguised as responsibility. Life requires movement. Growth demands change. Sometimes you have to let go of what's familiar to make space for what's right. And that process will test you. You'll doubt yourself. You'll question your decisions. But if your peace increases with each step, you're on the right path. Starting over doesn't erase your past. It doesn't mean you're abandoning who you were. It means you're integrating your past into a wiser version of yourself. Every time you begin again, you bring everything you've learned with you. The heartbreak, the lessons, the strength, all of it becomes part of your foundation. Starting over isn't starting from nothing, it's starting from experience. There's no expiration date on reinvention. You can decide at any age, at any stage, to shift directions. You can change your career at 40. You can start healing from trauma at 50. You can fall in love again after heartbreak. You can begin learning new skills, dreaming new dreams, creating new meaning. The only limit is the one you believe in. Society glorifies the illusion of having it all figured out early. But the truth is, the most fulfilled people are the ones who allowed themselves to evolve repeatedly. They didn't stop learning, and they didn't fear change. Every ending is a beginning in disguise. What feels like loss often clears space for something better. Sometimes life removes what you think you need, so you can find what truly fits. It's not punishment, it's direction. You might not see it right away, but one day you'll look back and realize that what broke you actually freed you. The pain was real, but so was the transformation that followed. When you let yourself start over, you stop treating change as a failure and start seeing it as a natural part of living. Nature does this every season. The trees shed their leaves to make room for new growth. They don't mourn the old leaves, they trust the process. You can do the same. You can shed what no longer serves you, even if it once made you happy. Change doesn't erase the value of the past. It simply moves you toward the next chapter. To start over, you have to let go of control. You won't know how everything will unfold. You won't have all the answers. But certainty isn't a prerequisite for growth. Faith is. Faith that something good can come out of the unknown. Faith that your future can hold peace even if your past held pain. Faith that you're capable of building again differently this time. It's okay if you're scared. Everyone is when they start again. Fear doesn't mean you're not ready. It means you care. But courage grows when you move through fear, not around it. Take small steps. One decision at a time. One moment of bravery after another. You don't have to rebuild everything in a day. You just have to keep showing up for yourself, even when it feels uncomfortable. You might face people who doubt your choices, who remind you of your past mistakes. But remember, they're speaking from their own limitations, not yours. You don't owe anyone the version of yourself that makes them comfortable. You have every right to evolve beyond who you used to be. Growth isn't betrayal, it's survival. You're allowed to change your mind, your path, and your dreams as many times as you need. Starting over is not about escaping your life, it's about renewing your relationship with it. It's about rediscovering what matters, reimagining who you can be, and reclaiming your sense of purpose. It's not about abandoning your responsibilities, it's about approaching them with new awareness and strength. Sometimes you'll have to start over in small ways. Maybe it's rebuilding trust in yourself. Maybe it's forming new habits after old ones stopped working. Maybe it's learning to love again after being hurt. Other times, starting over means burning everything down and building from scratch. Both are valid. Both are brave. There's no right or wrong way to begin again, only honest ways. Life will test your willingness to restart. It will push you to the edge of your comfort zone, where everything familiar feels far away. But that's where growth begins. The unknown is where transformation hides. If you can sit in that space without rushing back to what's familiar, you'll discover strength you didn't know you had. You might not get everything right this time either. You'll make new mistakes, face new challenges, learn new lessons. But that's what starting over is for, to give yourself another chance to do it differently. Each restart brings refinement. Each attempt shapes a wiser version of you. And if you keep allowing yourself to begin again, you'll eventually build a life that feels aligned with who you truly are. There is no final version of you. You are meant to evolve continuously. The moment you stop growing, you start decaying. Life is movement, and movement requires renewal. You can rebuild your habits, your mindset, your direction, your dreams again and again if you must. You are not behind, you are just in the process of becoming. So if you're standing in the middle of uncertainty wondering if it's too late to start over, the answer is no. It's never too late. You can begin right now. You don't need perfect timing or perfect clarity. You just need willingness. You just need to take the first small step towards something that feels right. Let yourself start over as many times as needed. Don't carry shame for changing path. Don't fear judgment for trying again. The people who build meaningful lives are not the ones who never fall. They're the ones who never stop beginning. And every time you begin again, you're proving that your hope is stronger than your history. You're proving that no matter what broke you, you still believe in the possibility of better. And that belief, that simple choice to try again, is the foundation of a beautiful life.
Chapter 7. Stand tall, and remember you have overcome worse.
There comes a point in everyone's life where the weight of what you're carrying starts to feel unbearable. The future looks uncertain, and your mind fills with thoughts like, "I can't do this anymore." But in those moments, when the world feels heavy, you have to stop and remind yourself of something simple but powerful. You have overcome worse. You've walked through storms that once made you doubt if you'd ever see light again. You've been broken, confused, lost and tired before, yet somehow you're still standing. That means there's more strength in you than fear wants you to believe. Standing tall doesn't mean pretending everything is fine. It means refusing to collapse under the pressure of what you're facing. It's a posture of resilience, a quiet declaration that you may be tired, but you're not done. Life has tested you before, and it will test you again. But each time you have come out stronger. You may have scars, but those scars are proof of survival, not weakness. They are reminders that pain tried to stop you and failed. When challenges rise, the first instinct is often to focus on how far you still have to go. You look at the road ahead and think it's too long, too steep, too hard. But when you shift your attention backward for a moment, when you look at all the times you've already made it through what you thought you couldn't, something inside you changes. You start to realize that the person who got you this far is capable of getting you through this too. That realization alone is enough to steady your breathing and strengthen your resolve. The mind is quick to forget its victories. It remembers pain vividly, but lets triumph fade into the background. That's why you must remind yourself deliberately. You've handled difficulty before. You've faced rejection, loss, disappointment and uncertainty. And every single time you found a way to keep moving. You didn't give up, even when you wanted to. You didn't stay broken. You didn't stay lost. You found a way back to yourself. That's the kind of strength you can't fake. That's the kind of strength that's built in silence, when no one's watching. You've survived nights where your heart ached so deeply it felt like it might stop. You've woken up after failure and found a reason to try again. You've held yourself together when there was no one to catch you. These are not small things. These are the moments that shape unshakable people. When life knocks you down again, and it will stand tall, and remember those moments. Remember that you are not fragile. You are seasoned by storms. Standing tall isn't arrogance. It's acknowledgement. It's telling yourself, I've earned the right to hold my head high. Every obstacle you've overcome has added to your strength. Every setback has taught you resilience. Every loss has made you more compassionate, more aware, more human. You don't have to minimize your struggles to prove you're strong. Strength isn't about pretending not to hurt. It's about showing up in pain and still choosing to move forward. Sometimes you'll look around and feel like everyone else has it easier. You'll see people smiling, achieving, moving ahead, and you'll wonder why life keeps testing you. But comparison steals perspective. Those people have their own unseen battle, and your story, your unique path, is preparing you for something that requires the kind of depth only hardship can create. Strength is not given, it's earned through persistence. Every challenge you faced was shaping the foundation of who you are becoming. You faced days where you didn't know how you'd pay the bills, how you'd heal from heartbreak, how you'd rebuild trust, or how you'd find the energy to keep trying. Yet here you are. You didn't quit. You adapted. You learned. You grew. You are living proof that endurance exists inside you. So when life hits again, and you feel that old familiar fear rising, remind yourself it's not the first time you've been afraid, and every time before, fear lost. There's something sacred about remembering your resilience. It brings you back to gratitude. You stop seeing yourself as a victim of life, and start seeing yourself as a warrior of it. You start appreciating how much you've grown through difficulty. Gratitude doesn't erase the pain, but it shifts the focus. It helps you see strength instead of damage, wisdom instead of wound. Standing tall is a daily choice. It's not something that happens once after victory. It's something you decide to do every morning, especially on the hard days. Some days, standing tall means simply getting out of bed and trying again. It means sending that email, showing up at work, or facing a conversation you've been avoiding. Resilience doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's quiet. Sometimes it's just the act of refusing to give up on yourself. You've likely had moments in your life where you thought everything was over. Relationships that ended, opportunities that slipped away, losses that felt too big. But somehow from those endings, new beginnings appeared. Maybe not immediately, maybe not perfectly, but they came, and each time you became a little more grounded, a little more aware that nothing truly destroys you unless you let it. That's the truth about endurance. It's built through the realization that even when life breaks you open, you still have the power to rebuild. When you stand tall, you send a message not just to the world, but to yourself. You remind your spirit that you're not defined by what happened to you, you're defined by how you responded. You can't always control the storms, but you can control your stance in them. You can control your attitude, your decisions, your willingness to keep showing up. That's what separates those who merely survive from those who thrive. It's easy to lose confidence when life keeps knocking you down. You start to question your worth, your purpose, your ability to keep going. But you have to stop and remember, this isn't your first battle. You've been here before, maybe not in the same way, but in spirit. You've known fear, and you've still acted. You've known doubt and you've still moved. You've known pain, and you've still healed. That's what makes you powerful. You've proven to yourself that you can recover, and recovery doesn't happen overnight. It's a slow rebuilding of faith in yourself. Every small act of persistence, every time you get back up, adds another layer to your strength. One day you'll look back and realize that the moments you thought would break you were the very moments that built your backbone. Pain doesn't last forever, but the strength it gives you does. When life gets hard, you have two choices: crumble under the weight of what's happening, or remember who you are and rise again. The second choice doesn't always feel easy, but it's the one that keeps you moving toward growth. You may bend, but you won't break. You may cry, but you'll still stand. You may slow down, but you'll never stop. That's what it means to have survived before. It's not just physical endurance, it's emotional courage. There's power in acknowledging that you've seen worse. It gives perspective to your current struggle. It reminds you that even the deepest pain has an ending. You've had sleepless nights before, and the morning still came. You've had seasons of loss before, and life still found a way to bring joy again. Nothing stays dark forever, not even the moments that feel endless. And knowing that is what keeps you grounded when everything feels uncertain. The mind will sometimes try to convince you that you're weaker now, that the last failure or heartbreak took something from you. But it didn't. It gave you something. It gave you wisdom about who you are, what matters, and what no longer deserves your energy. It stripped away illusions and showed you what you're made of. Strength doesn't always feel strong when you're living it. It often feels like exhaustion, like showing up with shaky hands and tired eyes. But that's still strength. You're still doing it. You're still here. Standing tall also means not letting past pain define future hope. Just because something hurt you once doesn't mean it will hurt you again. Just because someone betrayed your trust doesn't mean everyone will. Just because you failed before doesn't mean you always will. You can honor your past without letting it predict your future. You can carry lessons without carrying fear. The person you are today has survived things that the old you never could have imagined enduring. That's worth recognizing. You've evolved. You've learned resilience that only hardship could teach. You've gained patience, empathy, and perspective. The world will keep testing you, but now you have history on your side. You have proof of survival. You've built a mental library full of evidence that you can overcome. You don't have to wait for life to get easier before you stand tall. Strength doesn't come from the absence of difficulty. It comes from the decision to face difficulty with faith. Even in the moments when your voice shakes, your posture can say, "I'm not done." Every time you do that, you reclaim your power. You remind life that you've been through battles before, and that none of them have defeated you completely. When doubt creeps in, take a moment to reflect on what you've already made it through. Think of the versions of yourself that kept fighting when no one believed in you. Think of the nights you cried but still got up the next morning. Think of the times you were broken but chose kindness anyway. That's strength. That's proof that you can handle what's in front of you now. You've overcome worse before, and you will again. Each challenge may look different, but the same resilient spirit lives inside you. It's the same spirit that's kept you standing through every disappointment, every failure, every loss. You might feel tired, but you're not defeated. You might feel scared, but you're not powerless. You might feel uncertain, but you're not incapable. You have already faced more than this, and made it through. So when life tries to knock you off balance, stand tall. Not because everything is easy, but because you remember who you are. You've been through storms, and still found your way back to light. You've been wounded, and still chosen to love. You've fallen, and still gotten back up. And that means no matter what comes next, you already have what it takes to rise again. You've overcome worse, and that's not just encouragement, it's truth. You've proven it through your history, and every time you remember that, you draw power from it. You stand taller, breathe deeper, and move forward knowing that resilience isn't something you find, it's something you've already built, one challenge at a time.
Chapter 8. Protect your peace from things that drain your energy. Peace is not something you find by accident, it's something you protect with intention. In a world that constantly demands your attention, your energy, and your time, protecting your peace becomes one of the most important responsibilities of your life. You cannot live with purpose if you are constantly drained. You cannot grow if everything around you pulls you in 100 directions. There comes a point where you must stop trying to please everyone and start choosing what preserves your calm, your clarity, and your joy. Every day you wake up with a limited amount of energy. You spend it through your thoughts, your actions, your conversations, and your emotions. When you give it away freely to every distraction, every argument, every toxic interaction, you end the day feeling empty, irritated, and disconnected from yourself. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you isolate yourself from the world. It means you become selective about what deserves your energy. Not every problem is yours to solve. Not every invitation is meant to be accepted, and not every opinion is worth responding to. Energy drainers come in many forms: people, habits, environments, and even your own thoughts. Some of them are obvious, like toxic relationships or negative workplaces. Others are subtle, like overthinking, comparison, or trying to control things that aren't in your power. The more you grow, the more you'll realize that peace doesn't come from fixing everything around you. It comes from managing what you allow inside you. The world won't get quieter, but you can learn to move through it calmly. The first step to protecting your peace is recognizing what steals it. Pay attention to how you feel after spending time with certain people, doing certain activities, or thinking certain thoughts. Notice what leaves you exhausted or uneasy. Those moments are clues. If you constantly walk away from something feeling heavy, it's not aligned with your well-being. You don't have to justify why something feels wrong. You just have to honor it.
Many people stay in draining situations because they confuse peace with avoidance. Protecting your peace doesn't mean running from responsibility or ignoring problems. It means dealing with things from a place of balance, not chaos. It's not silence out of fear, it's silence out of strength. You can still handle challenges while choosing not to be consumed by them. You can still care about people without carrying their emotional weight on your shoulders. Your peace begins where your boundaries begin. Every time you say yes to something that harms your energy, you're saying no to your well-being. Boundaries are not walls, they're filters. They let in what nourishes you and block what drains you. Setting them may make some people uncomfortable, especially those who benefited from your lack of them. But you're not here to be available to everyone. You're here to live fully. And that means learning to say no without guilt. You don't owe access to anyone who repeatedly disturbs your peace. It doesn't matter if they're family, friends, or colleagues. If they consistently bring negativity, manipulation, or chaos, it's okay to step back. You can love people from a distance. You can wish them well without letting them have power over your emotions. Detachment is not cruelty, it's maturity. It's choosing to protect your inner world even when the outer one doesn't understand. Your own mind can also be one of the biggest threats to your peace. Overthinking drains more energy than any difficult person ever could. The mind creates endless stories, what-ifs, worst-case scenarios, imaginary arguments, and you end up living in problems that haven't even happened. Protecting your peace means training your thoughts to focus on what you can control. It's reminding yourself that worrying doesn't fix the future, it only robs the present. You'll find that peace isn't about having a life free of noise, it's about learning how to quiet your reaction to it. You can't stop people from misunderstanding you, you can't stop difficulties from coming, but you can choose how you respond. When you stop reacting to everything, you take back control. Every time you choose calm over chaos, you strengthen your peace. Every time you refuse to match someone's negativity, you keep your energy safe. Technology makes peace harder to find because it keeps your mind constantly engaged. The endless scroll of opinions, comparisons, and bad news floods your brain with information it was never meant to process, all at once. If you want peace, you must unplug regularly. Take breaks from screen. Reconnect with silence. Go outside and let your mind breathe. The world won't collapse if you step away for a few hours. In fact, you'll come back clearer, more focused, and more grounded. Protecting your peace also means being honest about what drains you internally, your habits, your self-talk, your patterns. Maybe you say yes to too many things out of guilt. Maybe you replay conversations, trying to find the perfect response. Maybe you give your best to everyone else and leave nothing for yourself. You can't control everything that happens around you, but you can take responsibility for how you show up. Peace starts with self-awareness. Letting go of constant control is one of the hardest lessons in protecting peace. The more you try to force life to unfold your way, the more resistance you feel. Not everything is meant to be managed. Some things require surrender. There's freedom in accepting that not every outcome is yours to determine. When you stop gripping so tightly, peace finds its way back in. A lot of people confuse busyness with purpose. They fill every hour to avoid stillness because stillness brings up emotions they haven't faced. But peace is found in stillness, not in constant movement. You don't need to earn rest. You need to allow it. Taking time to recharge isn't laziness, it's maintenance. If you don't pause voluntarily, life will eventually force you to. Burnout is what happens when you give too much and refill too little. Protecting your peace might require losing some things. You might have to walk away from people who only value you when you serve their needs. You might have to leave environments that reward chaos and ignore kindness. You might have to release habits that keep you exhausted. It's not selfish to prioritize your peace. It's essential. You can't give your best when you're running on empty. Sometimes protecting your peace means choosing silence over explanation. Not every misunderstanding deserves your energy. You don't have to defend your peace to people who are committed to misunderstanding it. The truth doesn't need constant validation. Let your actions and consistency speak louder than your defense. Walking away is not weakness, it's a form of emotional intelligence. It's important to understand that peace doesn't mean constant happiness. It means stability. It means knowing how to return to yourself when things feel overwhelming. It means being at ease with uncertainty because you trust your ability to navigate it. You don't need life to be perfect to feel peaceful. You just need to stop letting external chaos dictate your inner world. You'll notice that when your peace grows, some things naturally fall away. The drama you used to engage in starts to bore you. The approval you used to chase no longer matters. The habits that drained you lose their appeal. Peace changes your priority. You start valuing quiet mornings over loud nights, real connections over shallow ones, and authenticity over attention. You may disappoint people when you begin protecting your peace. You may be called distant, selfish, or cold, but that's only because people who are used to chaos often mistake calm for indifference. Don't let that pull you back into patterns that harm you. Your peace will make others uncomfortable until they find their own. Your job is not to shrink yourself to fit their comfort. It's to maintain your balance while they adjust. Protecting your peace also means choosing the right battles. Not every situation requires a reaction. Some things don't deserve your words. They deserve your absence. Learn to recognize when silence is the stronger choice. Sometimes peace looks like walking away without explaining why. Sometimes it looks like not replying to negativity, not correcting every lie, not proving your point. The more you value your energy, the less you'll waste it on things that don't matter. Peace grows when you learn to detach from outcomes. When you stop tying your happiness to how things turn out, you regain freedom. You can give your best without obsessing over results. You can love without trying to control. You can work without drowning in perfectionism. Detachment isn't apathy, it's the confidence that whatever happens, you'll be okay. One of the most important parts of protecting peace is self-respect. When you know your worth, you stop negotiating it. You stop over-explaining your boundaries. You stop accepting less than you deserve. You stop staying in spaces that don't value you. The more you honor yourself, the more your life aligns with peace, naturally. Peace also grows in simplicity. You don't need 1,000 things to be happy. You just need alignment. The more clutter, mental, emotional, or physical you remove, the lighter you feel. Create space in your life for things that matter. Meaningful conversations, time in nature, moments of gratitude. The quieter your environment becomes, the louder your peace speaks. There's no perfect formula for peace, because it looks different for everyone. For some it's solitude. For others it's connection. For some it's creating. For others it's resting. What matters is that you identify what restores you and make it a non-negotiable part of your life. Peace isn't a luxury, it's a necessity for a healthy mind and a fulfilled heart. If you've been living in constant stress, it might feel strange to slow down. You might even feel guilty for resting or saying no. But peace is something you must learn to tolerate. The nervous system that's used to chaos needs time to adjust to calm. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but with practice, it becomes natural. Eventually you'll wonder how you ever lived without it. Protecting your peace doesn't mean life stops being challenging. It means challenges stop controlling you. It means you can face difficulty with clarity instead of panic. It means you can make decisions from wisdom instead of emotion. It means you finally understand that peace is not the absence of problems. It's the ability to remain grounded while handling them. You've given your energy away long enough. You've spent too much time trying to please, fix, or prove. Now it's time to guard what matters most. Your calm, your clarity, your peace, because when you protect that, everything else falls into place. Your relationships become healthier. Your decisions become wiser. Your life begins to feel lighter. Peace isn't something you find once and keep forever. It's something you choose again and again every day. Each time you decide not to let something drain you, you're protecting your spirit. Each time you choose calm over reaction, you're honoring your growth. Each time you walk away from what disturbs your peace, you're saying to the world, I respect myself. And that, more than anything, is the foundation of a life that feels truly free.
Chapter 9. Choose effort. Today, even when you lack motivation, there will be mornings when you wake up and feel nothing. No spark, no excitement, no motivation to move forward. You'll stare at your goals, your responsibilities, your unfinished tasks, and everything inside you will say, not today. And it's in those exact moments that your choices define you more than your emotions ever will. Because motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. Effort, however, is something you can control. When you choose effort, even when you don't feel like it, you start building something far more powerful than motivation. You build discipline. Motivation gets you started, but effort keeps you going. People often wait to feel inspired before they take action, but life doesn't work that way. The truth is, action creates motivation, not the other way around. When you start moving, even with low energy, your mind begins to engage, your body starts to cooperate, and slowly that spark you were waiting for begins to grow. Waiting for motivation is like waiting for the rain to stop before you plant your seeds. You could be waiting forever. There's a quiet truth about success that most people ignore. The most consistent, fulfilled, and accomplished individuals are not those who feel driven every day. They are the ones who show up even when they don't. They do the work when they're tired, when they're uncertain, when they'd rather do anything else. Because they understand that effort builds momentum. And once momentum takes hold, it becomes the fuel that keeps you moving forward. Think about the moments in your life where you made real progress. It wasn't during times of perfect inspiration. It was during times when you pushed yourself to do something hard, something uncomfortable, something you didn't want to do at first. Those moments became turning points because effort has a way of transforming your state. The simple act of doing creates its own rhythm. You start small, and before you know it, you're in motion. And that motion creates confidence, and that confidence fuels motivation. When you rely on motivation, you become a prisoner to your feelings. When you rely on effort, you become the master of them. Feelings are temporary. They change with weather, sleep, stress, and circumstance. But effort is a choice. It's the voice inside that says, I may not feel like it, but I'll do it anyway. That's what separates progress from procrastination. That's what turns ordinary days into productive ones. There's a false belief that successful people are always inspired. They're not. They just understand the power of showing up. They treat their effort like a habit, not a reaction. They don't wait for the perfect mood to act. They act their way into a better mood. They know that consistency beats intensity. You can't rely on bursts of energy to carry you through life. You have to build a rhythm of daily commitment. Every day won't feel exciting. Some days will feel repetitive, even dull. But those are the days that test who you are. It's easy to work hard when things are new or thrilling. But growth happens in the ordinary, in the unseen hours, in the moments where no one is watching. Those moments build character. They build discipline.
They separate the dreamers from the doers. Effort is not about perfection. It's about progress. You don't have to give 100% every day. Some days 70% is enough. Some days 50 is all you've got. What matters is that you keep giving something. Every bit of effort, no matter how small, compounds over time. The person who keeps going, even slowly, will always outpace the one who waits for perfect conditions. When motivation disappears, your mind will start making excuses. It will say, "You're too tired," or "It doesn't matter if you skip today," or "You can start fresh tomorrow." But tomorrow often becomes next week, and next week becomes next month. The hardest part of effort is starting. Once you begin, even for 5 minutes, resistance starts to fade. That's the secret. Don't focus on finishing the entire task, focus on starting it. Your body and mind respond to repetition. The more you practice effort, the easier it becomes to take action without overthinking. It becomes muscle memory. Just like an athlete trains to move even when exhausted, you can train your mind to act even when unmotivated. The more often you show up, the less emotional energy it takes to begin. Effort becomes instinct. There will be days when you give everything and see no immediate results. That's when most people quit. But effort doesn't always show its rewards right away. Sometimes the progress is invisible for a while. Sometimes it's building silently beneath the surface, preparing to reveal itself when the time is right. Don't mistake slow growth for no growth. The process is working even when you can't see it. The discipline of effort teaches you to trust yourself. When you follow through on commitments even when you don't want to, you prove to yourself that you are dependable. You stop breaking promises to yourself. You build integrity with your own mind. That's where real confidence comes from. Not from hype or outside validation, but from knowing you can rely on your own consistency. When you feel unmotivated, remind yourself of your why. Why did you start in the first place? Why does this goal matter to you? Why would you regret quitting? Your why gives meaning to your effort. Without it, every challenge feels pointless. But when your effort is tied to purpose, even the hardest days have value. Effort becomes an act of alignment, not obligation. Effort also shifts your focus from feelings to identity. Instead of saying, "I need to be motivated," you start saying, "I am the kind of person who does what needs to be done." That identity shapes behavior. Every time you choose effort, you reinforce that identity. You're telling yourself, "This is who I am, someone who follows through." And that repetition builds a powerful internal belief. You don't need to conquer the entire day to make it count. Effort doesn't always look grand. It often looks quiet. It looks like waking up and making your bed when you'd rather stay in it. It looks like showing up for work when you feel uninspired. It looks like going for a walk when your mind says rest. Small efforts repeated daily are what build the foundation of change. When motivation is gone, routine becomes your anchor. Create habits that guide your behavior even when your emotions fluctuate. Your morning routine, your planning, your moments of reflection. All these serve as structures to support effort when your feelings calm. A strong routine saves you from relying on willpower alone. It turns discipline into rhythm. It's natural to have days where you question your progress. You'll wonder if the effort is worth it, if you're actually moving forward. But growth doesn't happen in dramatic leaps. It happens in gradual shifts. Each small act compounds quietly, preparing you for breakthroughs later. Think of effort like bricks. You lay one each day, and over time you build something strong enough to hold your dream. You will also face seasons of fatigue, both mental and emotional. It's not about pushing yourself to exhaustion. It's about staying consistent within your capacity. Rest when you need to, but don't mistake rest for quitting. Rest is part of effort. It's what keeps you sustainable. True discipline knows when to pause and when to push. Balance keeps you in the game longer than burnout ever will. Sometimes effort will look like doing the hard internal work, healing, forgiving, learning and reflecting. Those forms of effort don't always produce visible results, but they build inner strength. Doing the emotional work to grow as a person is just as important as the external work of achieving goals. Every bit of effort that improves your mindset contributes to your future peace. There's also a psychological shift that happens when you stop waiting for motivation. You begin to take ownership of your life. You stop saying, "I hope I feel ready," and start saying, "I'm doing it anyway." That mindset turns you from a passive observer into an active participant. You stop reacting to life and start directing it. Effort creates momentum, and momentum creates results. Once you're in motion, things get easier. You start to feel progress, and that progress becomes addictive. But you can't reach that point if you keep waiting for inspiration. The first few steps are always the hardest, but they're also the most important. Once you push through that initial resistance, everything begins to flow. There's a saying that discipline weighs ounces, while regret weighs tons. Every time you choose effort, you lighten the weight of future regret. You'll never look back and wish you hadn't tried, but you will look back and wish you hadn't waited. Effort today builds peace tomorrow. It's not about instant gratification. It's about earning the satisfaction of knowing you gave your best, even when it wasn't easy. Choosing effort is about trust. Trust that what you're doing now will matter later. You might not see the results immediately, but every action counts. Every repetition strengthens your skill. Every decision builds resilience. Every completed day of effort moves you closer to who you want to become. That's how transformation happens. Gradually, through countless small choices to try again. Even on the days you feel disconnected, your effort matters. It's the bridge between intention and reality. Without it, dreams remain ideas. With it, they become visible. You may not be able to control motivation, but you can always control effort. That's your power. That's your freedom. And there will be days where your only accomplishment is that you didn't give up. And that's enough. You don't need to conquer everything in one day. Sometimes effort simply means holding your ground. It means doing what you can with what you have, even if it's not perfect. Because perfection isn't what changes your life. Persistence does. So when you wake up tomorrow and feel that familiar lack of motivation, remind yourself that feelings don't determine your destiny. Actions do. You've done hard things before. You've shown up tired, uncertain, and afraid, and still managed to move forward. You can do it again. You don't need to feel ready. You just need to begin. Choose effort today, even when you lack motivation, because effort is what builds your life one choice at a time. It's what turns dreams into reality and goals into habits. It's what separates those who wish from those who achieve. You don't have to feel inspired. You just have to act. And when you act, you prove something powerful to yourself. You are capable of more than you think, even on the days you feel least like trying.
Chapter 10. End the day proud that you kept showing up. At the end of every day, before the noise of the world fades and the weight of everything you carried finally starts to settle, there's a quiet moment when you can look back and ask yourself a simple question. Did I show up today? Not, did I do everything perfectly? Not, did I achieve every goal? Not, did I win every battle? But did I show up? Did I try? Did I give what I could with the energy I had? Because if the answer is yes, then you have every right to end the day proud. Life isn't built on perfect days. It's built on effort. One small, faithful step at a time. You won't always feel strong. Some days, showing up will mean giving your best energy and accomplishing great things. Other days, it will mean simply getting out of bed when your mind feels heavy. Both count. Both matter. Consistency doesn't look the same every day, but what matters most is that you stayed in the game. That's where pride lives, not in perfection, but in perseverance. There's something deeply honorable about people who keep showing up even when life keeps throwing obstacles their way. They don't brag about it. They don't seek applause. They just quietly continue. They show up for their work, their families, their dreams, and themselves. Even when they feel unseen, they keep going.
And that is real strength, the kind that doesn't always get recognition, but carries immense power. Every day won't end with victory, but it can end with dignity. Because pride doesn't come from everything going your way. It comes from knowing that you didn't give up when it would have been easier to. It comes from seeing your own endurance and realizing that you are stronger than your excuses. That's the kind of pride that builds self-respect, the kind that gives you peace when you finally rest your head at night. We live in a world obsessed with results. People measure progress by achievements, by numbers, by what's visible. But the truth is, real growth is often invisible. It happens in your persistence. It happens in the quiet choices no one sees. It happens when you show up tired, when you keep a promise to yourself, when you continue pushing through doubt. Every one of those moments matters more than any single grand accomplishment. They build you from the inside out. When you start ending your days with gratitude for your effort instead of criticism for your flaws, everything changes. You begin to see how much progress you're actually making. You stop defining yourself by how far you still have to go, and start appreciating how far you've come. You start to notice that every small step forward adds up, and suddenly, even the slow days feel meaningful, because you're no longer chasing perfection, you're honoring persistence. There will be nights when you feel like you didn't do enough. Your mind will replay everything you didn't get to, every mistake, every missed opportunity. But before you let those thoughts take over, pause and remember that showing up is never wasted. You might not have achieved everything, but you kept moving. You didn't let discouragement stop you. You kept yourself in motion, and that's what matters most. There's a quiet pride that comes from knowing you didn't let your emotions dictate your efforts. Maybe you didn't feel motivated, maybe you felt uncertain, but you still did something. Even a small step in the right direction has value. Progress is built through imperfect effort, repeated consistently, and when you recognize that, you stop needing constant validation from outside sources. You start finding pride within yourself. When you go to bed at night, don't measure your day by how much you finished. Measure it by how much heart you gave. Were you kind? Did you try? Did you face discomfort without running from it? Did you keep moving even when it wasn't easy? Those are the things that define a meaningful day. Because success is not a single event. It's the accumulation of small wins and quiet courage. Some days will stretch you thin. You'll feel overwhelmed, tired, maybe even defeated. But even then, showing up matters. The courage to face an imperfect day and still give something is one of the purest forms of strength. You may not see the rewards right away, but every time you push through, you're building resilience. You're teaching your mind that no matter what happens, you can rely on yourself to keep trying. Pride at the end of the day isn't about ego. It's about self-respect. It's about knowing that even in your worst moments, you didn't abandon yourself. You stood by your goals. You showed up for your responsibilities. You kept walking when it would have been easier to stop. And that's what makes your journey meaningful. Because someday, all the small days when you kept going will add up to something extraordinary. You might not notice the transformation as it's happening. Change often hides in plain sight. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It grows quietly while you're busy doing the work. But one day you'll look back and realize that the person you've become is the result of every single time you chose effort over excuses, discipline over comfort, persistence over giving up. End your days proud, not because everything went right, but because you did something that mattered. Maybe you showed up for someone who needed you. Maybe you took care of your health. Maybe you stayed calm when things went wrong. Maybe you kept your promise to stay patient, to learn, to try again. Pride grows when you recognize the value in small victories, because those small victories are what create a life that feels full and grounded. People often underestimate the power of consistency, because it doesn't always bring instant rewards. but think of a stonecutter who hits the same spot on a rock 100 times without seeing a crack. Then on the 101st strike, the rock splits open, not because of that final hit, but because of all the hits before it. That's what showing up does. Each day's effort adds pressure, until one day everything breaks open, and your persistence pays off. There's something deeply peaceful about closing your day with gratitude for effort instead of regret for inaction. You begin to sleep better when you know you gave what you could. You rest easier when you stop demanding perfection and start appreciating progress. Life feels lighter when you realize that showing up is enough, that progress doesn't require heroics, it just requires commitment. Sometimes showing up means doing something for yourself that no one else understands, taking a break, saying no, choosing rest over burnout. Those moments count too. You can be proud of yourself for protecting your energy, for choosing balance, for refusing to let the world push you past your limits. Showing up doesn't always mean hustling. It means honoring what your mind and body need to stay steady. When you lie down at the end of the day, reflect on how you carried yourself through the hours. Maybe you made mistakes, maybe you felt distracted, but also notice how you kept coming back, how you tried again after each misstep. That ability to reset, to refocus, to keep going despite imperfection, that's the essence of showing up. You are not supposed to be flawless. You are supposed to be faithful to the process. You can't control every outcome, but you can control your effort. You can control your attitude, your reaction, your persistence. That's all that's ever been required of you. If you gave what you could today, if you tried to do better, if you faced something uncomfortable instead of running away, that's enough reason to feel proud. You don't have to wait for big milestones to feel fulfilled. You can celebrate the quiet victories that happen each day. Each day you show up, you build evidence of your own strength. You build trust with yourself. You stop being someone who breaks promises to your goal. You become someone who can count on their own consistency. And that's where confidence comes from, not from easy wins, but from the quiet certainty that you'll keep showing up no matter what. When the day ends, reflect on your persistence, not your productivity. Did you show up with integrity? Did you treat others with kindness? Did you push through discomfort, even a little? Those are the things that matter when the world quiets down and you're left alone with your thoughts. That's when you realize that progress is not always loud. It's often silent, steady and sincere. If you can go to bed knowing that you kept trying, that you didn't give up on yourself, that you handled your day with patience and honesty, then you've succeeded. You've done what many people don't. You've stayed consistent. You've honored your effort. You've built a day worth being proud of. Not every day will look impressive. Some days will be messy, slow and uncertain. But pride doesn't come from a perfect record. It comes from perseverance. It comes from knowing that even when it wasn't easy, you stayed the course. Every day you show up, you're writing a story of endurance, of growth, of inner strength. That's what builds a life of meaning. So when you close your eyes tonight, don't think about what you didn't do. Think about everything you overcame just to make it here. Think about the doubts you silenced, the distractions you resisted, the moments you could have quit but didn't. You showed up, and that's everything. You don't need applause or validation to be proud. The quiet pride of effort is enough, because when you keep showing up, day after day, even when no one notices, life begins to change. You begin to change, and that's how real transformation happens, not in one grand moment, but in thousands of small ones, where you kept choosing to try. End the day proud, not because it was perfect, but because you stayed true to your effort, because you kept your promise to yourself, because you lived with intention, even when it was hard, because you showed up. And if you can keep doing that one day after another, your life will become the reflection, that steady commitment, a quiet, powerful masterpiece built one day at a time.